Alrighty, hello everybody, Nancy again. Okay, now we're going to go to the next part of our homework 3 for the ALM, which was creating tests. We initially signed on in the previous video as a business analyst, and then we created our requirements. Now we have to sign in as the tester and create the test. So I know that when I created all my stuff over on the admin panel, I created Trish as a tester. So now I'm going to sign on ABC, etc., and authenticate. Now, you will get this almost every time, or at least I get this every time. If you do, don't worry about it. Just click on OK. You will not be able to sign on here. So just go ahead and close out of ALM. Give it a second. And then open again. For some reason, when you've been signed on and then you sign off and you sign on again, especially if you sign on as a different person, it will not like that. And then for me, at least, it gives me that error message. And as you see, if I just close out ALM and then I open it again, no problem. Okay, here we are. As you can see, I'm signed in as Trish, who is the tester. I'm showing here the requirements. Ignore this top one that says Edmunds Auto Calculator app. That was from my homework. This is the one I did on the previous video, Edmunds Auto website. And if you open up, you will see that I have the website and a folder under it to show what page I'm at, and then my requirements. So what we have to do now to convert these over so that we have them in our test lab is to convert requirements to test folders. And always make sure, like if you're down here, you're only going to have this thing changed. You don't want that. So make sure you're all the way up here at the top of everything that you want converted. So it'll catch this folder, and these requirements. Actually, I did that wrong last time and had to stop the video that I was recording, so, you know, nobody's perfect. So in order to convert to requirements, we click on the Requirements tab, and then we, convert to tests, we click on the Requirements tab, and then we convert to tests. As Jay taught us, we do not want to make the lower child requirements design steps because this is much too general. These are not even the tests. We don't want to convert the child requirements to tests because these I'm going to use as folders, and then I'm going to create positive and negative test cases under that. So let's just go ahead and convert everything to subject. So in other words, it'll be folder, folder, folder. And you click next, and as you see, it's catching everything from here on down, which is what we want. And you click next. Yes, your destination subject path should be subject, and finish. And it says, yay, you finished successfully. So we're essentially done with this page here. We're going to click over onto testing, go to test plan, and because I'm paranoid, I'm going to hit refresh to make sure everything shows up. Okay, we have my old homework here that's supposed to be here, and now we have the thing that I just now brought over from the requirements, which is the Edmunds Auto website. And if you'll see, it turned everything into folders. So now I have to create my tests out of these. So remember, in our homework we have to create 10 tests. So what I did here is I wrote down 5 folders, and under each folder I'm going to do a positive and a negative test. Now you can do this 2 ways. You can create a new folder and call it positive, and then you can go back here and you can create a new folder and you call it negative. And then you can put your negative test, the one you want to make not work, here, and your positive test here. You don't have to do that. You can create your test directly under here, and then you can say positive zip code test and negative zip code test excuse me, as the title of your test. Doesn't matter. Most of the way I did it as positive and negative, but you can do it however you want. Alright, I'm going to do one of these for you, and then I'm going to leave you on your own to create everything because, you know, I don't want to make it too easy on you. Let us see. I'm going to do the interest rate field. Now remember, if we look on our requirements here, In the interest rate field, it says you're only accepting numerals in the form of x.xx. So my positive test is to create a test in such a way that it should work. So let's create a test. So I have a new test, and this is going to be my positive test. I'm going to say positive. Enter valid interest rate number in the, what is it called? Interest rate field. Let's go over to the Edmunds website. Because this is a website we'll be running the tests on. Okay, this is not called the interest rate field. Remember, we have to be very precise. If somebody's not familiar with this page and they look for the interest rate field, they are not going to find it, correct? It is called the market finance rate field. So let's be consistent, and we'll say enter a valid interest rate number in the market finance rate field. That is the name of our test. This is the positive test. What is the creation date? Let's choose today. The designer is Trish, and the status is design, because we're creating it right now, correct? And it's a manual test, obviously, because everything here is manual. In our description, we want to tell exactly what the tester is supposed to do. So it says user tester, in this case it's user. User will enter a valid interest rate in the market finance rate field. And you can, if you remember, this is parameterization. Remember parameterization? That is something I'll go into more detail later, but basically that means we can put a bunch of different numbers in here. If we wanted to run the test numerous times with different numbers, as long as they're all valid, we can put in 4.99, we can put in 5.23, we can put in 3.68. The only thing is it has to be a valid number in the form x.xx. So it says in the format x.xx, meaning one number before the decimal and two numbers after the decimal. In the, yeah, I already did, in the market finance field. Okay, so that is my detail. User will enter a valid interest rate in the market finance rate field in the format x.xx. That's my first test. Okay, so now you see I have the Edmunds Auto website. Under that I have the Auto Price Calculators page. Then I have a folder for all my interest rate tests, because I could do 10 of them if I wanted to. My positive test here is going to be enter a valid interest rate in the market finance rate field. And then let's go ahead and go back up here, because remember, we don't want our tests nested one under the other. I want my tests both to be directly under the interest rate field. So I'm going to create another test. And this is going to be my negative test. So as you see, I titled it negative rather than creating an extra folder. Negative. Enter invalid interest rate number in the market finance rate field. You don't have to put a period. This is not a complete sentence. Enter invalid interest rate. So this is the one where we want it to fail. I don't say we don't want it to fail, because if we go to Edmunds.com and we put, say, a 2-digit number in there, it should not work for us. If it does not work for us, then that is actually a pass, because we don't want it to work, because that is a mistake if it does. So our negative test has nothing to do whether it passes or fails. So negative means we're going to enter invalid information. We're going to enter an invalid interest rate number in the market finance rate field. So here I'm not going to parameterize this, because I want to tell it exactly what number I want to put in. User will enter the number 5.5 in the market finance rate field. And there you go. And so those are my two tests here. Let me put a date. for the interest rate field. You will also have to create tests for each of the other folders here. And I'm going to leave that to your ability and creativity to do, because it's not hard insofar as, it's not rocket science. You're not doing terrible calculation, but it can be very kind of tedious because it's step by step by step. I would recommend that you create all of your tests before you start doing test steps. I found what really helped me on the homework was to only do and concentrate on one question at a time. I'm going to finish. I finished number 4. Now I'm designing the test steps, and then I'm going to do all that before I even think about what comes up on 6 and 7. So first, we have to incorporate 2 to 4 parameters in each test case. So we will do that when we create our design step. So let's start with the positive one first. This is the title that I created, and now we have to create design steps. Look at the little footprint here that says my new step. That's step 1. And it'll say step 1. And I'm going to do this. Step 1, open the browser. First thing you got to do, right? Let's close this out here. Okay, so the first thing we have to do is open the browser. In this case, I'm using Chrome. You might be using Internet Explorer or Firefox, doesn't matter at this point. And the expected result is that the browser will be open. So let's write that up. Open the browser. Step name does not have to be super duper detailed. Description: user, that's you, Mr. Tester, will open browser. Once again, I'm parameterizing. I'm going to go on a separate video to tell you all about parameterizing, simply because I need to refresh myself on it to make sure I don't make any mistakes. So for right now, just accept what I'm doing and don't worry about it. User will open the browser. What is the expected result? Browser. And let's use the same all lower caps. Will be open. Okay, so this is our very first step. We're going to open the browser. User will open the browser. Later, you can determine whether that's going to be Internet Explorer, Chrome, Safari, Firefox, whatever. What do we expect to happen? We expect that the browser will be open. This is our first step. Do not click OK. You can click here to go on to your next step. Let me see if I can remember insert parameter. Parameter name, browser, default value. Okay, so I named parameter here, and okay. Don't worry about it. We'll worry about it later, because I don't know what I'm doing on the browser without reviewing myself on it first, so never mind. So we're going to go on to our next step. Step 2. What do we have to do? We have to go to the website, which in fancy words is navigate to the URL. User will navigate to www.edmunds/calculators. And I know that because I've done it a bazillion times. So we're going to navigate to the URL. User will navigate to www.edmunds.com/calculators. What is the expected result? The auto calculators page will appear. That's what this name is of that page. The auto calculators page will appear. That is the end of step 2. Notice I'm using complete sentences, and when I use capitalization if I'm dealing with, this is the auto calculators page, I'll use capitalization sometimes. Just try and be consistent. Use good grammar, use good sentence structure, capitalize where you feel it's appropriate. And then step 3. Go back over here, because what do we know? We don't know what step 3 is yet. Okay. What's the next thing we need to do? We need to enter a monthly payment. You can enter whatever number you want. I'm just going for a fairly round number, and I'm going to enter the number 500. Now remember, we have to parameterize between 2 and 4 steps in each test. So I'm going to go ahead and parameterize that. So, step 3, enter number in monthly, payment field, step 3. User will enter number in the monthly payment field. The number must be, okay, just say for this purpose of this test, because we want it to work, we don't want to break it, a 3-digit whole numeral. In other words, that means we're not going to write the word 500. We're just going to use a 3-digit whole numeral. So we could do 500, 200, 300, 800, whatever. So we just said number. What do we expect to happen? Number appears in the monthly payment field. Boom. All right, that's it. Then the next step is click on the Go button. Now you also have to specify which Go button, because as far as I can see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 Go buttons on this field. Remember, just because you're writing the test doesn't mean you're going to be the person running the test. So you have to make it clear to the person who will be running the test what to do. Click on Go button. You don't have to do it here in the step name, but in the description. Click on the blue Go button next to the monthly payment field. What do we expect as a result? Well, let's go over here and click. The expected result is that we land on the How Much Car Can I Afford page. So we say the How Much Can I Afford page appears. That's it. Next step. Okay, so the next thing we have to do is the zip code. So we have to update the zip code. Now, obviously, I've been on here a bazillion times and I put the zip code in. So 64111. That's all you do at this point. Step 5. Enter zip code. And this is another area where you can parameterize. You can either say user will enter the zip code 64111 in the zip code field. And that way, whenever they're testing it, they will enter that number. Or you can say user will enter the zip code in the zip code field. And then later when the test is being run, you can try it with a whole bunch of different zip codes just to make sure, you know, what if it doesn't work for Hawaii? What if it doesn't work for Alaska? What if it doesn't work for Puerto Rico, which is a commonwealth rather than a state? That would be an issue. Will it work for APOs and FPOs, which are military addresses for those who are serving overseas? This is all the stuff that we have to think about. That's why you can say under this zip code thing, when you're testing the zip code itself, then you can do you can do 5, 6, 10 tests just for the zip code field. But for our work here, I kept it very simple. So the user will enter the zip code in the zip code field. What is the expected result? The zip code is entered in the zip code field. Next step, step 6. What is the next thing? Then we have to, remember our target monthly payment is already in here because we chose that on the last page. So it is pre-entered. We don't have to do anything with that. We have to select a loan term. We have 36, 48, 60, and 72 from which to choose. So you can parameterize this if you want to, or you can just type it in straight. I'm going to type it in straight. Select loan term from drop-down list. I'll say user will select 48 months from the loan term drop-down list. 48 months is selected from the loan term drop-down list. Next step. Now we have to choose not an interest rate, we have to choose a market finance rate. And we're going to call it 5.00, just because I like round numbers. Makes it easier on me. This is another thing you can parameterize. You can say user will enter a 3-digit number in the market finance rate, and then you can change that when you're doing the test. Enter valid number in the market finance rate field. Because right now we're not testing that market finance rate field. We want to make sure the number we are putting in there is valid. User will enter the number 5.00 because it's supposed to be in the form of x.xx in the market finance rate field. What do we expect to happen? 5.00 is entered in the market finance rate field. Next step. See how long this is and how much it takes? This is not rocket science. So we're done with that. And now we have to do the value of your trade-in, the amount owed on your trade-in, the cash down payment. So we have four more steps, because you're going to do those 3 and then you're going to calculate. So I'm just going to go here and tell it 5,000. You can tell I've done this before. 2,000, 1,000. Okay, so this is actually 3 separate steps. I'm going to create a step for the value of your trade-in, create a step for the amount owed on your trade-in, create a step for the cash down payment. So let's go back here and do that. Like I said, I've done it a billion times, so I'm going to fudge it a little bit. So enter amount of, what did we say what that was? Value of trade-in. Enter amount of value of trade-in. Once again, you can parameterize this. You can use you can tell it to put different numbers in it, but we're just going to do it straight. User will enter the number 5,000 in the value of trade-in field. Once again, you have to be very precise. Note, I put 5,000 and not 5,000 with a comma in it. You can make that a test to see if you're allowed to do that, but we're not testing that particular field at this time, so let's do it straight up to make sure that it's not going to break this test, because we're not testing that, we're testing the interest rate number, and we're making it so everything should work. So user will enter the number 5,000 in the value of trade-in field. And what's the result? Expected 5,000 is entered in the value of trade-in field. Next step. Enter, what is it, amount owed? Let's look over here. Yeah, amount owed on trade-in. Enter amount owed on trade-in. As you said, you notice in your step names, they are not as detailed as the descriptions, obviously. User will enter 2,000 in the amount owed on your trade-in field. What is our expected result? 2,000 will be entered in the amount owed on your trade in field. And you might think, oh gosh, do I have to put that on your trade in field every time? I like to be consistent and I like to be thorough because it's a good habit, because at some point being thorough and writing in a full sentence and making sure you don't assume somebody knows what you want them to do will be the difference between writing a correct test step and writing an incorrect test step. Let's go on the next one. This is the next to the last one, step 10. And then it is cash down payment. Enter cash down payment. User will enter 1,000 in the cash down payment field. 1,000 will be entered in the cash down payment field. And the next step. So let's go over to the website. What is our next step? Our last step is to click the calculate button. There's no calculate button anywhere but here. We're going to click that. And what do we get? Do we get results? Yes, we do. I am not totally concerned with the precision of these results for purposes of our homework. And you can write down what they are. But what I did is I did click calculate button. Okay. User will click the calculate button. And if you heard some screaming in the background, well, the children are home and it's summer vacation, so sometimes they scream. User will click the calculate. What is the expected result? The expected result is a let's call it a calculation is made and results are misspelled. Results are returned for the total down payment, sticker price range, and maximum TMV price categories. Total down sticker price for the total down payment, sticker price, and maximum TMV. What do we call it? I'm terrible if I'm not looking at TMV price. TMV price fields. Okay, and that is it. That is that test. Those are all of the test steps. You see there are 11. Let's open this up a little bit. So you can see everything. Step 1, open the browser. Step 2, navigate to the URL. Enter the number in the monthly payment field. Click on the Go button. Enter the zip code. Select the loan term from the drop-down list. Enter a valid number in the market finance rate field because this is our positive test. We want to put the correct number in. Enter the amount of the value of your trade-in. Enter the amount owed on trade-in. Enter cash down payment. Click calculate. And then these are the expected results. That's it. Now, once again, I know at some point we have to we have to link these to our requirements. I have to refresh myself on when to do that. So we will leave this video here. I'm going to go take a break and see what my children were all screaming about. Requirements covered. There we go. Alright, so I'm going to show you how to link to the requirements. Remember what we wrote all the way back here? We have to link this to the requirements so that when we run this test, we'll have this paper trail, as it were, showing, hey, we did what we said we were going to do. So, while we're here, under the valid interest rate number, blah, 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 we're going to go to requirements coverage. And then we're going to select a requirement. And then you're going to get this over here. So we're going to open up our requirements folder, and then we're going to open up the folder that I was working under, and then this folder. And then which requirement are we working on? We are working on the interest rate field requirement. we're actually having two tests for the interest rate. So we're going to use this thing twice. You can use it more than once. We're going to move it over here, and now we have it linked to requirements. One thing I should say, now I'm going to say a caveat when I put this video up. Make sure you are documenting every step as you go along. Document when you do the folder, document when you do your design steps, document when you do your interest rate. You do not have to do a screenshot after each and every design steps, because if you do, probably, Jay will kill you. But when I did this, I always did, like, I was over here when I did the requirements, I came over here and I captured it and I showed it, hey look, I got the requirements like you told me to, and it copies it to my clipboard. Then I'm going to click copy, and then I'm going to go over here still inside my VMware, because my VMware has a word processing program. It has Word. Let's find all of my programs. Here we go. Microsoft Office, Microsoft Word. And then you kind of give Jay an idea where you are. This is, creating tests and such. And then you're going to paste what you just clipped here. So that shows, yes, I did link it to my requirements like I was supposed to. Then you go back over here, and you can just move this out of the way. Go back over here, sorry, to ALM. And then he's going to want to see all of our design steps. So you go over here using your snip tool, and then you're showing him all the design steps. It's on your clipboard now, it's not in the word processor yet. So you copy it, and then you're going to paste it into your Word document. Oops, not the right Word document, the one inside VMware. Boom. Paste. Okay, and what I did, I would say, just to let him know, I would say this is test 1 zip code requirements. So he knows what he's looking at. It makes it easier to grade, and if you make it easier to grade, then you know what? Maybe you'll get a better grade because you made him happy. He didn't have to go searching all over here and beyond trying to figure out what you were doing. So that's it. That's it for creating the test steps. Now, obviously, as I said, we worked with some parameterization, which we didn't go into in detail. There's a couple of ways to create a parameter. You can do it like I did by just doing the open caret 3 times and then put your parameter name and then close it, or you can use the insert parameter little thing with eyeball. 2 different ways of doing it. I find my way to be faster, and you will not have to worry about this until you get to the execution of the steps. So that is how you create tests. Let me think. Oh, I did want to tell you, now I have to do a negative test over here, and I really, honest for God, I do not want to have to write all that stuff again. So what I can do is I can highlight each of my fields here, and I'm going to copy it. Okay, then I'm going to go over to my next test. I'm going to click on this open space here, and then I'm going to paste it. Ta-da! I just saved myself a whole bunch of typing. Now, this is a different test, so I'm going to have to change some things, because this is my negative test. I'm going to enter an invalid number here for the market finance rate field. And then that means we'll see how this works. I'll run you through it to show you. So we're going to change this one, because you can come in here and edit, enter invalid number in the market finance rate field. So I'm going to enter the number 4.2, because remember, it's supposed to be x.xx. I am missing 1 digit. What do we expect would happen? 4.2 is entered in the market finance rate field. Let's go back and see what we think is going to happen. See right there, those steps are exactly the same. This step is exactly the same. This is already here. We're going to do, whoop. Oh, see, never mind. Didn't let me put it, I accidentally put in an invalid zip code. It wouldn't let me do it. 64111, update zip code, select 48. Okay, so we're going to put 4.5. And we won't know if this is going to work or not until we get down to calculate, because you're just entering the number. So over here on our test step, it said 4.2 is entered in the market finance rate field. Yeah, that's fine. That's exactly what happened. And then you click OK. And then your other steps are the same. Enter the value of your trade in, enter the amount owed, enter the cash down payment. Let's do that. We had enter 5,000 here, enter 2,000 here, enter 1,000 here. Okay, it let us enter the incorrect number. But look what happens when I click calculate. It's not supposed to let us be able to do that. What is our expected result? The expected result, after you click the calculate button, the expected result is that we should get a pop-up box with an error message. We don't know what it is, but it should be a pop-up box with an error message should be displayed. So that's what should happen. So my next test is complete, because remember, I'm just writing them now. I'm not executing the test, even though we're doing the steps over here, because we have to learn what all we're supposed to do. So I use cut and paste in order to avoid having to write all the stuff in again. And then I went in and I edited where I needed to change stuff. I had to change the market finance rate here and here and here, and then I had to change the expected result here. So now I have 2 tests done, and just the second test took me literally 20 seconds, right? And then you can do the same thing here for your long-term drop-down list. So we say blah, 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 and then you can use your paste here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop the tape here to kind of let you percolate on that and figure out how you do it. And then once it's said, create all of your tests, and don't worry about testing them until later, which we'll go over. My next video, God willing, if I'm able to get it done today, will be on going over to the test lab and testing, and then I'll show you how we use the parameterization. So on this one, on this video, we signed in as the tester because we are done with the business analyst. We came over to requirements and we converted our requirements so that they would show up in our test plan, convert to tests. And we came over here to test plan, and then we created our test based on what had converted over.
Call from +1.
And then we checked everything to show that we had at least 2 parameterizations in here because we're supposed to, and then we, last thing, linked it to the requirements. Now I just finished this one also, so I can go ahead and link it to the requirements also, and I'm using the same thing because it's also an interest rate field test. So now I have that one linked to the requirements. So once again, you're going to clip, you're going to save all this, you're going to save it to your WordPerfect file. Whoops, I keep grabbing the wrong one. You're going to save it to your little WordPerfect document here. So and you're going to show the graders what you did, and then make sure that you save this periodically so you don't lose it if it crashes. So save it as this is my homework or whatever. You can always rename it later. Okay, so that is it for now. I'm going to go and end this video because I don't want them to be like 4 hours long. They need to be in chunks that you can digest. And then when I'm able to do another one, we'll work on actually executing the test. All right, talk to you later, folks. Bye-bye.